Welcome to this deep dive.
Great to be here.
Today, we're exploring the dynamics between two signs that, well, they share a pretty fundamental connection, Virgo and Capricorn.
Both Earth signs. That's a big starting point.
Exactly. We've gathered, a stack of sources looking into their individual traits, how they click in relationships, handling conflict.
And even what marriage might look like for them. Yeah.
Right. So our mission, as always, is to really unpack this material, pull out the key insights.
Give you the shortcut, basically.
Precisely. A clear picture of this very grounded, practical pairing. Okay, let's get into it.
Sounds good. And, it's a pairing where that shared element, it creates this almost immediate sense of understanding, doesn't it?
It really does. And that starts right at the foundation, with the Earth signs themselves. Our sources, they consistently group Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn as, well, the grounded, practical folks of the zodiac.
Yep, very much so. The material really hammers home their core priorities: stability, consistency, and just a deep commitment to hard work.
Their whole approach to life seems, realistic,
Okay.
sensible.
Right. No pie-in-the-sky stuff, generally.
The sources keep mentioning this focus on, achievable goals, taking steady, thoughtful steps forward.
Not chasing dreams with, zero chance of actually happening. It's about building something tangible, something real.
They really are the bedrock, aren't they?
Definitely. And each brings a slightly different flavor to that earthiness. Taurus, seeking security through comfort.
Virgo refining, analyzing.
And Capricorn building structures. Ambition. Discipline.
Okay, so let's focus on Virgo first, often called meticulous analyst. The sources paint this picture of just incredible attention to detail. That phrase, eye for detail, comes up a lot.
Always noticing the little things others miss. Yeah, very practical, very intelligent.
Their minds are just always working, aren't they?
Yeah.
Driven by this need for order and this constant desire to improve things, to refine.
Like a continuous quality control process running in their heads.
And that refining energy, it often translates into a sense of service, right? The sources mention they're deeply compassionate, kind.
Looking for practical ways to make things better. For the world, or just for the people they care about.
Yeah, showing love through acts of service, like quietly making life easier for their partner, that kind of thing.
And being ruled by Mercury, planet of communication, the sources point out their strong communication skills. They really value honesty.
They tend to speak very sincerely. One source actually said they won't sugarcoat the truth.
Which can be refreshing, or maybe blunt sometimes.
Yeah, depends on the situation.
Yeah.
They love those deep, thoughtful conversations, making sense of things.
And that analytical side extends to their space, too. Orderliness is key.
Rarely find a mess in a Virgo's space, as one source put it. They need that cleanliness to function well.
It's also important to remember they need their independence. Alone time is crucial for recharging.
Right, not keen on clinginess.
No. Now, that drive for improvement, it does have its potential downsides.
Yes, the challenges. Perfectionism is a big one mentioned in the sources.
It can lead to overthinking, self-criticism. One source called it a lifelong journey for some Virgos.
And that problem-solving skill, sometimes it gets applied to people, doesn't it?
Trying to fix their partner, giving unsolicited advice or critiques. Even with good intentions, it can sting.
High standards can make them seem really hard to please, too. Perfectionists.
And interestingly, while they might critique others, they can be quite sensitive to criticism themselves.
That's a common thread. And emotionally, the sources suggest they can be a bit reserved, maybe shy, slow to open up.
Yeah, it takes time. Now let's contrast that a bit with Capricorn, the ambitious builder.
Right. The material really focuses on their drive. Achievement, discipline, long-term success. That seems to define them often.
Steadfast, persistent. They face challenges with this quiet, unshakable determination.
Very practical again. Realistic, a real no-nonsense vibe.
And a huge sense of responsibility. Natural leaders, striving for excellence, respecting tradition.
They value security, stability, building an environment that feels safe, like a sanctuary.
And they are so reliable. The sources really emphasize how incredibly dependable they are.
Loyalty, too. It's fundamental. Beneath that, maybe, serious exterior.
As one source said, lies a loyal friend who values honesty and integrity above all else.
Yes. They're also noted as patient and organized. Similar to Virgo in that respect.
But the challenge is, that dedication to achievement can make them seem serious, maybe a bit distant emotionally at times.
Definitely can fall into the all work, no play category.
Yeah, that's a risk. And the sources do flag a tendency towards stubbornness, Rigidity sometimes.
Being too stubborn or needing to learn not to set rigid expectations. Those came up.
So you bring these two together, the meticulous analyst and the ambitious builder. What happens?
Well, the sources point to this almost immediate natural click, an affinity.
It's described as a meeting of like-minded souls. Being fellow Earth signs, they just operate on a similar frequency, you know?
A shared appreciation for structure, responsibility, striving for excellence.
Yeah.
It's all there.
They see their own values reflected back. Practicality, attention to detail, organization, commitment, that need for security, respecting hard work.
And astrologically, that trine aspect being the same element, it creates this harmonious flow.
It's more than just agreeing. It's like an intuitive understanding. One source put it really well, saying something like, "At last, you don't have to constantly explain yourself."
You've never felt so comfortable, so understood.
Yeah.
Yeah, that resonates.
That feeling of finally meeting someone who just gets them.
And that shared analytical brain power makes them a powerhouse team for problem solving, strategic planning,
They just understand how the other's mind works, don't they?
which leads to strong communication, usually on that intellectual level.
They love rational, well-reasoned discussions, getting into the weeds of a topic together.
Exchanging ideas, challenging each other in a good way,
Yeah.
enriching each other's thinking.
But there's often a but, right?
Always.
This deep connection also highlights where they need to grow, especially emotionally.
Right, earth signs. Even though they value trust, actually expressing feelings openly, that can be tricky. Reserved, cautious.
The sources call it difficulty in openly expressing emotions. There's this tendency to lean on logic, on practical solutions, maybe instead of dealing with the messy feelings.
It takes time and trust for them to really open up. And there's a danger, isn't there, of just bottling things up.
We're trying to solve problems by just ignoring the emotions involved. That was called out as a major area of weakness for this pairing.
Yeah, and that lack of open emotional expression, it can lead to misunderstandings, even when they're otherwise so in sync.
So the material really stresses that they have to consciously work on this, step outside those comfort zones.
It requires patience, understanding, and a real commitment from both sides to, well, foster that emotional connection.
Learning to be more vulnerable, actually listening to the feelings behind the words, making time for those deeper conversations, it's crucial.
It's the key to making the bond fully flourish beyond just the practical stuff.
Absolutely, because when they do manage to combine that practical synergy with genuine emotional growth,
Right.
well, that's when you see why they get called a power couple.
They absolutely have that potential, that shared drive, the way they can work together so seamlessly, the dedication.
Yeah.
It makes them formidable.
They can bring real earthly tangibility to their grand plans, as one source nicely put it. They don't just dream it, they build it.
Excellent problem solvers, strategic thinkers. They tackle challenges together and can achieve amazing things.
Plus, they're incredibly loyal, supportive partners, usually working towards some shared long-term vision.
They have that stability, that rational approach to navigate life's ups and downs. It allows them to build something really strong, really healthy.
Definitely capable of weathering storms together.
But even power couples have their specific hurdles, often rooted in their strengths, actually.
True. The sources point out some recurring themes they need to watch out for.
Perfectionism and criticism seem like big ones. Both have high standards. Both can have a critical eye.
And that can lead to clashes, right? Virgo's critiques might feel a bit sharp. Capricorn's rigidity might feel frustrating.
So the advice is around cultivating understanding, empathy, learning to embrace imperfections, maybe.
And practicing patience and compassion when giving feedback. Virgo learning to frame it constructively, perhaps.
And Capricorn learning to be a bit more receptive,
Yeah.
less defensive or rigid.
Then there's work-life balance. A huge one for these two.
Both potential workaholics.
Yeah.
That can definitely lead to neglecting the relationship or just burning out.
They genuinely need to, schedule downtime. Together and apart. Show each other it's okay to take a break, that things won't fall apart.
And circling back to the emotional expression piece.
Yeah, that conscious effort to communicate feelings openly, especially during conflict, not just sweeping them under the rug to solve the problem logically.
Avoiding that trap is vital.
Also, Virgo's need for order. Inconsistency from a partner can be really jarring for them.
So clear communication, establishing routines helps. But
they also benefit from deliberately injecting some spontaneity sometimes.
right. Showing that a little unplanned fun won't derail everything. It can actually loosen things up in a good way,
And that sensitivity to criticism we mentioned earlier.
even though they can dish it out sometimes.
Exactly. So using I statements, I feel hurt when, rather than you always, That's recommended.
Approaching differences with curiosity, maybe, instead of judgment, and just being clear when something hurts.
It's important for both. And one more thing some sources mention, avoiding complacency.
Ah, because it can be so comfortable together.
Precisely. They understand each other so well, it can become too comfortable. They need to make an effort to keep some individual space, maybe a little mystery, so they don't just merge into one unit doing everything together by default. Keep it dynamic.
Makes sense. But look, their underlying strengths are really powerful tools for navigating all this.
Absolutely. That deep mutual respect, the loyalty, the dedication to the relationship itself.
Valuing trust, supporting each other's growth, personally, professionally.
These are the things that help them overcome obstacles. They're a team.
They really respect each other's decisions, even when they don't fully agree. And actively working on their relationship, listening, accepting, encouraging.
That's the key. Capricorn, for instance, might help Virgo tap into a softer, more tender emotional expression sometimes.
So this powerful combination, how does it play out in different kinds of relationships? Friendship, for instance.
Sources describe the friendship as incredibly stabilizing, grounding, comfortable, practical advice, loyal support.
And maybe some necessary tough love now and then.
Probably. They won't let their friends off easy if they see them messing up.
Okay, and what about love and romance?
Well, they approach it seriously, practically. Love and trust are paramount.
Slow to fall, maybe.
Often, yes, they take time to build that trust. But once they commit, they are fiercely committed.
And once they feel safe, there's passion there too.
Definitely. It's not all work and no play. Physical touch, acts of service, those are often big love languages. They're focused on reliability, predictability, long-term goals, building something solid.
Which leads naturally into marriage. How's that typically described?
As responsible, faithful, practical, building that strong foundation based on trust.
They sound dedicated to the marriage itself, like it's a project they're committed to succeeding at.
Exactly. They excel at creating a safe, practical home, often with clear roles that work for them, their shared values, that dedication. It really sets them up for a healthy marriage built to last.
So, overall compatibility. The sources seem pretty positive.
Yeah, generally very high scores. Around 85% overall compatibility pops up, with really strong marks in areas like, surprisingly maybe, conflict resolution.
When they use those analytical skills constructively, I guess.
Exactly, and in their professional lives working together.
It really comes back to that earth sign connection, doesn't it? Providing that solid framework.
Built on responsibility, dedication, perseverance, shared values.
So, yeah, there are challenges. Emotional openness, managing that shared perfectionism.
But the consensus is they are absolutely capable of building a profoundly strong, healthy, and lasting partnership.
A relationship built on the most solid ground imaginable.
Through and through. The builders of the zodiac finding their match, really.
It's fascinating, isn't it, how their practical, grounded approach isn't boring or restrictive in their connection.
No, it's the fertile soil, the foundation.
For building something real, something lasting. So thinking about that, considering their shared talent for, building solid foundations and planning for the long haul, beyond just their personal relationship, what kind of significant, tangible contributions might a Virgo-Capricorn partnership be uniquely equipped to make out there in the wider world?